hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. So it looks like Dillian Whyte might end up fighting Dominic Breazeale April the 20th. Eddie Hearn has said that Dillian Whyte will be fighting April the 20th, and I already told you guys that Eddie Hearn wants to have that that card to be basically a heavyweight showdown. He wants Dillian Whyte to be facing somebody in that fight as the main event, and of course Joseph Parker to be facing Derek Chisora in the undercard, right? I guess those will be like the two last fights, right? And of course, Dillian Whyte has gone around saying he wants Dominic Breazeale. And Dominic Breazeale doesn't have a fight lined up right now, although he's still the mandatory for Deontay Wilder's WBC belt. So maybe, you never know. Maybe he rejects it, because I'm pretty sure, Dillian Whyte wants him. Eddie Hearn probably is calling up Dominic Breazeale saying, hey, we could offer you a fight to fight over here. But the thing is, maybe Dominic Breazeale rejects it because Dominic Breazeale is the mandatory, and he knows if he loses to Dillian Whyte, he'll lose that spot. But maybe not. Maybe he takes it, right? And if he takes it, then we're going to have Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale. And I told you guys, I think this is a good fight, Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale. I just think style-wise, Dominic Breazeale is a guy that, is he a technical boxer? Does he have anything that stands out? No. He's not the best fighter out there. He has poor defense. He's quite slow, but the one thing he does have is heart. And I've never seen Dominic Breazeale fight without trying to win the fight. He always tries. The thing that he lacks is just skill set. He's not necessarily the best fighter when it comes to skill set, overall talent. When it comes to Dillian Whyte, he's a far better fighter than Dominic Breazeale in every department, in my opinion. Better boxer, better with the way he's able to throw his punches, setting up his punches, better accuracy. But Dominic Breazeale is a guy that he's one of those guys that he just keeps coming forward. He has a really tremendous heart, and he'll keep coming forward until you knock him out. Okay? I've seen Dominic Breazeale get dropped several times. He got dropped against Anthony Joshua. He got dropped against Izu Ogono. He got dropped against Amir Mansour. Dillian Whyte is the massive puncher, so I won't be surprised if if Dillian Whyte manages to drop Dominic Breazeale. Because when you got a guy like Dominic Breazeale constantly coming forward, and Dillian Whyte, who's a puncher, and he's going to be throwing hooks or maybe straight right hands down the pipe. He likes to throw those pot-shotting right hands. I could definitely see him scoring knockdown against Dominic Breazeale. But like I said, if Dominic Breazeale gets dropped, he will get up and he will keep trying. What would intrigue me about this fight would be in the second half of the fight, because Dillian Whyte has a tendency to gas out, especially if he's fighting in a fast-paced fight. Dominic Breazeale is a guy who has pressure on you the entire night. Now if you give Dillian Whyte space and you let him work, then he'll be full of energy. But if you bring the fight towards him, in my opinion, you gas him out. In the first Derek Chisora fight, I thought that was the case. He was gassed out. So that's why I'm interested in the second half of this fight, because Dominic Breazeale is going to be, say Dominic Breazeale takes everything but the kitchen sink against Dillian Whyte, and he comes all night, and it's round 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and he's still coming, because he's a guy he's relentless, right? He's like Antonio Margarigo. He's like a heavyweight version of Antonio Margarigo. He just keeps coming, even if you land all your punches on him, because he got a lot of heart and a lot of desire. So what happens at that point? Does Dillian Whyte start tiring himself out? Does he start getting tired? If I had to pick a winner and if I had to make a prediction, it would be Dillian Whyte to beat Dominic Breazeale via decision, but he knocks him down twice. I see that happening. I see him knocking down Dominic Breazeale twice, but then beating him via decision. Just because he's an overall better fighter, he'll be able to win the rounds, in my opinion, and steal the rounds, unless he makes it into a street fight. And because I think that's what Dominic Breazeale wants in all his fights. He wants to make it into a street fight. He wants to make it into a inside fight, because you give him an advantage. But I predict Dillian Whyte would be very tired at the end of that fight, and also Dominic Breazeale. And I also think Dominic Breazeale is going to be bruised the hell up. What I like about this fight is we're going to be able to compare how Dillian Whyte did against Dominic Breazeale than when Anthony Joshua fought Dominic Breazeale, because we saw Anthony Joshua dominated Dominic Breazeale. He completely disfigured his face. He gave Dominic Breazeale a beating, but obviously Dillian Whyte is a different fighter, different style. I want to see how well he does against Dominic Breazeale. Because again, Dominic Breazeale is a guy that sometimes you look really good against him, but then you look bad against him. I mean, Izzy Ogona looked phenomenal against Dominic Breazeale, but he gassed himself out and he ended up getting stopped and he got beat up. And Amir Mansour dropped Dominic Breazeale like twice, and then he ended up losing that fight because I think he got his tongue lacerated against Dominic Breazeale when they were in an exchange. So that's what I want to see in this fight. I want to just compare. But again, although I do think it's going to go the distance, I wouldn't be shocked if Dillian Whyte knocks out Dominic Breazeale, just because Dominic Breazeale has been down several times. Because he doesn't care about defense. Since Dominic Breazeale is a fighter that doesn't care about defense, he comes forward and he leaves himself exposed. And you can't do that in the heavyweight division because you're going to get knocked out. That's why I've always said if you ever fought Deontay Wilder, I see Deontay Wilder sparking him out with that right hand, because you can't be walking forward like that with no defense against a puncher like Wilder. So this might be the same case actually with Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte is also in my opinion, an underrated big puncher. So he might end up catching him. But like I said, I definitely do think he's going to drop him. But I think this fight could be entertaining for as long as it lasts. If you get what I'm saying. Like, I think this fight might be like the fight of the night. I mean, well, you never know. I mean, Derek Chisora is always in a fight of the night type of fight. So if he fights Joseph Parker, maybe that will be. But I just have a feeling that this might be like a fight of the night candidate. Even if Dominic Breazeale loses, as I expect him to lose, people will probably be cheering him on after the fight just because he showed tremendous heart. You never see people booing Dominic Breazeale. They show him respect because they see the fact that he has a lot of heart. But I think this is an exciting fight. And obviously, the winner of this fight would probably be the mandatory for, I would imagine, Deontay Wilder's WBC belt. Or is like there's another mandatory for one of Anthony Joshua's belt. Because I know Dominic Breazeale is the mandatory for Deontay Wilder for that WBC belt. So if Dillian Whyte beats him, that makes him the mandatory, doesn't it? So again, since he's fighting with Eddie Hearn, or since Eddie Hearn is saying he's going to be fighting on April the 20th, then it seems that he decided to stay with Eddie Hearn. Because remember, I was saying that he was looking at going to maybe the U.S., other promoters. But it looks like he's staying with Eddie Hearn, which I think is a good idea. Although I think it was dumb for him to reject that fight with Anthony Joshua. He could have fought Anthony Joshua. I think it is dumb just because the fact that there's no guarantees he could stay undefeated until he gets another title shot. He could lose to Dominic Breazeale. But I'm going to be honest with you, if it came to because like I said, the other choice of opponents are Luis Ortiz, Alexander Povetkin, Dominic Breazeale. And out of all those guys, I think the easiest guy is Dominic Breazeale to face for Dillian Whyte. I think it's a lot more challenging for him to face Alexander Povetkin, Luis Ortiz. That doesn't mean he'll lose to them, but I think that's a more tougher task, just because those guys are better quality heavyweights than someone like a Dominic Breazeale. But like I say, this is the heavyweight division, and Dominic Breazeale has a lot of heart, so you never know. But like I said, if this fight does get confirmed, I'm not mad at it. Like, I will see it, because I do think it's one of those fights that it would be entertaining, basically, for as long as it lasts. That's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and see you guys.